This is CBS.
In the news tonight, a seaside community deals with a shock of a bizarre act of violence. 2 deputies are injured in a high-speed chase near Galveston.
And a new storm is brewing between city employees and the mayor. I'm Claire Casademont.
And I'm Philip Bruce. These stories, Dan Metter's stormy forecast, Matt Musil's sports page, and more. Next on 11 News at 10.
Me and the Chronicle Sports section, we go way back to my boyhood heroes.
7211.
You know, there is not one day that goes by that some women don't have this thought. Will I ever have a baby? And on the next Oprah Winfrey Show, female-to-female conversation about the dreaded fear that time has passed them by, that the clock has stopped ticking. Are babies a part of your future? Baby Talk on the next Oprah Winfrey Show.
Watch The Oprah Winfrey Show, Monday at 4 on Channel 11.
KHOU TV, Houston. And now, from 11 News in Houston, Charles Hadlock, Claire Casademont, Dan Metter with weather, and Matt Musil on sports. This is KHOU 11 News.
Good evening, everyone. Charles Hadlock has the weekend off. Philip Bruce joins us tonight. Philip.
Thanks, Claire. The Texas Gulf Coast is under a severe weather watch tonight as a line of thunderstorms moves in. Dan Metter will have more on that a bit later.
But first, the small town of Palacios tops our news tonight as it tries to deal with a shootout that left 2 men dead and another seriously wounded. As 11 News reporter Arthel Neville tells us, Palacios met its yearly homicide average in a single day, and residents still can't quite believe it.
It was calm in Palacios this evening, but it wasn't quiet. Most of the 5,000 or so residents were still talking about the double homicide that shocked the city by the sea.
It's never happened anything like this. As long as I've known, and I've been here all my life. I was born here.
The tragedy unfolded Friday afternoon when a 27-year-old gunman entered the Palacios tax office and tried to take a customer hostage. Before it was over, Assistant Police Chief Emmett Green would be shot and the gunman, Duck Wynn, dead. Before Wynn went down, he killed 79-year-old Judge Jack Dooley.
We're going to all miss him, and it's going to be hard to replace him. We get to see him almost every day at City Hall. He comes by to talk to us and get copies made for something or just visit.
I couldn't believe that what I was seeing was real.
The shootout took place in front of Pam Gullett.
Assistant Chief Green said, "Drop it." And he got the man's attention for a second. And when he did, I ducked down into the corner of my office, and I stayed there until the shooting was over.
The Vietnamese make up 15% of the population in Palacios. Most residents here believe Friday's tragedy was an isolated incident, and few people blame the Vietnamese community.
I call these type people that have said these comments bad things about Vietnamese. They're rednecks, is what they are. They're damned idiots, because this is not the way Palacios is.
People here say the shooting is tragedy enough for any town without any additional problems, and they hope Palacios will soon return to the quiet it enjoyed before. In Palacios, Arthel Neville, 11 News.
The Assistant Police Chief, 43-year-old Emmett Green, is in stable condition at Matagorda General Hospital in Bay City tonight.
In Galveston County, 2 sheriff's deputies are in the hospital tonight after they crashed during a high-speed chase. The deputies were pursuing a car on Highway 3 when another motorist ran into them. The deputies had been chasing another car driven by 2 young men. The men reportedly had been ramming cars on the causeway in Galveston. They were arrested a short time later after running off Highway 3 and into a ditch. The deputies are in the Mainland Center Hospital in Texas City. One is in serious condition. The 2 men are being held in the Lamarck City Jail.
Philip, investigators in Prairie View say blinding sunlight caused yesterday's fatal collision between a car and train. Brian Price was turning left at the FM 1098 crossing when he was apparently blinded by the sun and didn't see the oncoming train. His wife and daughter died at the scene. Price died this morning at Cy-Fair Hospital. He was a 14-year veteran of the Pasadena Police Department. Witnesses say there are no crossing arms at the scene of this accident. Authorities say there have been 5 deaths along the same stretch of track in the last half year.
Well, Houston City employees are getting ready to fight City Hall again. The City Council meets in a special session Monday and is expected to say no to a new pension plan for employees. The proposal is now before the state legislature, and the city will fight it. As Janet Shamlian tells us, the mayor says it's too expensive.
The pension plan before the legislature would establish mandatory cost of living increases for some city workers and decrease the amount of time it would take to become vested for all. Mayor Whitmire says that would cost the city more than $4 million a year. Money, she says, Houston doesn't have.
And quite frankly, we just can't afford it. I think that we would always like to see increased benefits, but this is not a time that we can be asking the taxpayers to come up with another $4 million a year for that particular proposal. What we're really putting our emphasis on is coming up with the money to adjust our basic compensation, including the 3% pay restoration we've just voted on.
That raise will affect all workers and will cost Houston about $13 million. The union, representing 1,400 city employees, says even with that increase, the city can't afford the pension plan.
Well, the mayor is reneging on her deal of 2 years ago. She agreed 2 years ago with the pension board that she would back this bill in the next session of the legislature. The city does have the $4.6 million or whatever to pay for the bill.
City Council is expected to take a stand against the plan in a special session called for Monday, and then start lobbying the legislature against the bill. A vote by the Senate is expected within 2 weeks. Janet Shamlian, 11 News.
Organizers are calling it the largest women's rights march in American history. Dozens of Hollywood's best-known actresses will lead the way tomorrow when thousands of demonstrators gather in the nation's capital to show support for legal abortion. One organizer says 250,000 people are expected to participate in that march. The demonstration stems from a recent Supreme Court decision to reopen the issue of legal abortion.
People on the other side of the issue held their own rally today in Dallas, where the case that changed abortion laws began. 400 anti-abortion demonstrators marched on the federal courthouse. That's where a woman known as Jane Roe first began her legal fight that ended in the Supreme Court in 1973. These marchers want the court to reverse the Roe versus Wade decision that made abortion legal. Although today's rally in Dallas was peaceful, another group of anti-abortion activists here in Texas tonight is facing criminal charges and hefty fines. The group known as Austin Rescue has been slapped with criminal trespass charges for trying to block the entrances to women's clinics. Since January, 430 members of Austin Rescue have been arrested. The fines against the group total more than $150,000.
Exxon is hiring 500 more workers to help clean up the giant oil slick in Alaska. The Pentagon is also sending in a team of soldiers to aid in that effort. Shifting winds have sent the oil on a collision course with the nation's #1 fishing port. Meanwhile, a former second mate says the Exxon skipper was frequently drunk and failed to follow regulations. In a lawsuit, the mate charges Captain Joseph Hazelwood held regular drinking parties aboard the Valdez. Well, coming up next here in 11 News, another environmental concern near Norway tonight, where a Soviet nuclear submarine sank.
Pomp and circumstance at Texas Southern University today as a new president officially takes over. These stories, Dan Metter's cooling forecast, the sports page, and much more still ahead on 11 News.
Food and drugs.
In headlines from around the world tonight, assurances from the Soviet Union that there will be no radiation leak from a wrecked submarine. Scientists in Norway say they found no signs of radiation from a Soviet submarine that caught fire and sank yesterday. The nuclear sub went down north of Norway. Authorities believe about 50 sailors died. More fighting in Haiti today, but the government of General Prosper Avril says his forces have defeated rebellious soldiers. The fighting started up again yesterday, 1 week after an attempted coup failed. A two-day conference on the future of Namibia in Southwest Africa has ended, and there's hope fighting there will end as well. SWAPO guerrillas say they'll pull out of Namibia and retreat to Angola in the next few days. That could put a United Nations independence program for Namibia back on track. A United Airlines 747 lost part of its wing this morning while landing in Sydney, Australia. Authorities say about 3 yards of skin from the right wing came off and that the plane had damage in the baggage compartment. There were no injuries.
Closer to home tonight, educators from across the country are gathered in Houston this weekend for the inauguration of Texas Southern's new president. Dr. William Hamilton Harris has actually been on the job for several months, but it wasn't official until today. Harris received a pendant bearing the names of all former TSU presidents. He has also inherited a school facing serious financial problems.
Well, my biggest challenge is make sure we maintain adequate support financially to do the job we got to do. Organizationally, I think we're moving in the right direction.
TSU is the nation's third largest historically black university. Among those in the audience during today's inauguration, Dr. Harris's 98-year-old grandmother.
Oh, I don't hardly know what to think. Oh, I'm so happy for her. You think he'll be a good president?
Well, it was a nice day for an inauguration, nice day for just about anything.
Until tonight. But we have some good news. The severe thunderstorm watch has been canceled for southeast Texas, but watch out. We're going to have some cold weather heading this way. We'll be talking about that next.
Since our earliest commercials, we've shown you how we hand twist Mrs. Baird's bread. Now, that's not the way everyone does it, but we think it's important.
Chevy truck.
Interesting weather day across Texas. One side of the state had some blistering heat. Another side of the state was cool. Another side of the state had severe thunderstorms. Well, 3 o'clock this afternoon, the radar scope was empty, but we were beginning to watch a line developing around 4. That line continued to move toward the Houston-Galveston area, and they had issued a severe thunderstorm watch for all of southeast Texas. But within the last few minutes, they have dropped the severe thunderstorm watch, and you can see why. The line has broken up. There are still remaining a few light showers, but this is a cool front, and it's slowly heading this way. They're talking about the contrast of temperatures. Temperatures this afternoon were in the 50s in the Panhandle. El Paso had a brand new record today at 93. San Antonio record at 98. Corpus Christi 99, a brand new record. McAllen had 106. And the hot spot for the state and for the country came in from Laredo. They had 110 degrees. Here it is only April, and I'm sure these people are really excited about summer coming up. Now watch this cloud cover continue to move. Let me get out of the way here. We can watch the thunderstorms beginning to develop in southeast Texas. Here they come, moving closer to southeast Texas. This is all being triggered by a front, which is now moving into the Houston-Galveston area. In fact, intercontinental winds have just now switched. Temperatures are interesting contrast. Again, 50 degrees coming in from Amarillo to 95 degrees at 9 o'clock coming in from Laredo. They'll be cooling off tomorrow. Right now, 71 degrees at Galveston. Hobby reporting 73. Downtown, 75. And I mentioned Intercontinental reporting a wind shift right now, and their temperature's going down to 74 degrees. Humidity 75%. Dew point at 72. Northerly winds now at 7. And the barometer finally going back up at 29.75. It was a warm morning throughout the area. Intercontinental 15 degrees above normal. Hobby had 69. Galveston was above normal. They had 70 this morning. This afternoon also above normal. 87 degrees Intercontinental, 10 degrees above normal. Hobby reported 85, and Galveston was slightly above normal with 74. Now we were watching that front beginning to trigger some thunder showers this afternoon in Texas, and this system is now moving through southeast Texas. Tomorrow the system will be moving off our coast and going stationary, but we will be watching a new outbreak of some very cool air coming this way. In fact, we could be having temperatures in the 40s by Tuesday and Wednesday, but it's going to remain very, very hot in the desert southwest. And what is causing this weird weather? Well, it's a weird alignment of the jet stream. We're seeing the jet stream stretch from the northwest down to the southeast. To the southwest, it's extremely hot. To the northeast, extremely cool. If this had been midwinter, it had been extremely cold. Our forecast for Houston for tonight looks like the chance of showers will continue as that front continues to make some progress in southeast Texas. 58 degrees tomorrow morning in the cooler air. It will be warming up just a little bit throughout the day with a slight chance of showers. And by Monday, that secondary push of cool air is going to be heading this way. Temperatures will be going down by Tuesday, 48 degrees for a low. And by Wednesday morning, the possibility of having temperatures in the middle 40s. So light the furnace, bring out the sweaters, and put away the short sleeve shirts for just a little while because winter is coming back.
How long do you expect that cool weather to last?
About 3 or 4 hours, knowing this time of year.
It'll be a nice break anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
Thanks, Dan.
Well, it was a warm day, but the heat didn't stop thousands of people from coming to the annual Westheimer Colony Art Festival. You could do anything there, from having your portrait drawn to enjoying a juggling act. And if shopping is what you like, there were plenty of items out there, from colorful bracelets to designer caps. The festival continues tomorrow between 10 and 6, and there is a $1 donation for those 18 and over.
Philip, for those into more maritime entertainment, there's the 20th annual Reeking Regatta. Canoes race down 16 miles of the Buffalo Bayou today to benefit the Buffalo Bayou Coalition. The Reeking Regatta was followed by the Anything That Floats race, a tongue-in-cheek race where not really much of anything really floated. They're brave, that's all I can say.
It's a real sport.
Well, that is going to do it for us for the news portion of this team, and we're going to turn it over now to Matt Musil, who has the Saturday Sports page.
And I've got
Matt?
some good news and bad news for local sports fans. The Rockets wrapped up their 6-game road trip tonight. They took on the Heat in Miami. They needed a win to finish at the 500 mark for this road trip, and we'll have all the highlights from that one. The Astros were trying to break out of their 3-game losing skid tonight as they hosted the Padres. We'll have a recap of that contest, and we'll sort through all the ups and downs of the 3rd round of the Masters Golf Tournament. Mother Nature was the only big winner today. We'll check in with the #1 college baseball team in the nation, plus a whole lot more coming up next on the Saturday Sports page.
I'm bored. There's nothing to do. I've got an idea.
It's Mickey Thompson's Off-Road Grand Prix. Visit your Toyota dealer today for your Action Pass. Good for discounts on adult VIP seats and free pit passes. Your Toyota dealer's got the ticket. So get off the couch and get in on the action. See your Houston Super 6 Toyota dealer and catch Mickey Thompson's Off-Road Grand Prix Saturday, April 15th at the Houston Astrodome.
I'm here in the cornfield to illustrate why Land O'Lakes Country Morning Blend is the perfect...
I'm lost in Atlanta last night, and guard Mike Woodson had just been sent home to examine his injured hand. But all of those things considered, it looked like the Rockets were going to win tonight's game in Miami, but they did not. Let's take a look. The Rockets, well, they led by 2 at the half. They led by 8 in the second half. Here's Akeem, 2 of his 43 points, make it 94-93. But it comes down to this. In overtime, Allen Lovell misses a layup. Akeem knocks the follow dunk down. It's 104-103. But the Heat comes back down with 25 seconds left. Sylvester Gray makes it 105-104 Heat. Then the Heat gets it again. Billy Thompson makes it 107-104 with 5 seconds left. The Rockets still have a chance to tie the ball game. They will take it out. Sleepy Floyd all open for the tray, and an out won't fall, and that'll do it. In Miami tonight, the Rockets lose it 107-104 in overtime, despite that great outing by Akeem Olajuwon with 43 big points. But they lose it, finish the road trip 2-4. And again, veteran guard Mike Woodson did not play tonight. He was sent home earlier today to examine a possible fractured bone in his hand. Now to the NBA scoreboard, let's take a look. Seattle topped Dallas tonight in Dallas. Indiana topped San Antonio over in San Antonio in overtime. In the 4th quarter, Milwaukee is leading Philadelphia 95-90. In the 3rd, Denver is leading Utah by 2. Further out west in the 2nd quarter, the LA Clippers lead the Phoenix Suns 32-23. And very early in their ball game, Golden State is leading the Lakers in the 1st quarter. And 2 players have been suspended following last night's slugfest in Chicago. Detroit guard Isaiah Thomas punched Chicago center Bill Cartwright during last night's Bulls-Pistons game. Thomas landed at least a couple of punches with his left hand. He wound up injuring his hand. A possible fracture could keep him out 3 weeks. Both players were ejected from the game, and tonight the NBA announced that Thomas will be suspended for 2 games and fined $5,000 for starting the fight. Cartwright is being fined $2,500, and he's been suspended for 1 game for his involvement. But the fight could be the costliest for the Pistons if Thomas is lost for the first part of the playoffs due to that fractured hand. Now to baseball. The Astros once again were hosting the Padres tonight, and what the Astros needed more than anything else going into this one was timely hitting. And finally, tonight, they got it. Let's take a look at the happy highlights for you Astro fans. Astros get on the board early and never trailed. Kevin Bass hits one through the left side. Billy Doran scores. It's 1-zip Houston. Bass comes through again in the 4th. This single to left field plates Glenn Davis. Astros on top 2-0. After the Padres made it 2-1, Houston scored 3 times in the 5th. Davis down the left field line. Rafael Ramirez has no problem scoring from second and is 3-1. After that double, Billy Doran doubles himself to right center over the head of Marvell Wynn. Billy Hatcher and Rafael Ramirez cross the plate. It's suddenly a 5-1 ball game. And Jim Clancy, remember him? Yeah, he was supposed to take Nolan Ryan's spot. Well, he looked very good tonight. Got the start for Houston. Had a strikeout pitch there. And he got San Diego swinging. And Clancy lasted 8 1/3 innings. He struck out 8 as Houston goes on to win it 6-2. Scott on the mound tomorrow in the rubber game of this matchup. Let's check the other scores from around the majors. Los Angeles, Atlanta.
rained out. San Francisco, Cincinnati, rained out. New York, Montreal. Montreal wins that one 3-2. Earlier, it looked like the Chicago-Pittsburgh game would be rain and snowed out, but they actually got it in, and the Cubbies won it 5-3. Elsewhere, St. Louis fell at Philadelphia, and over in the American League, in the 9th inning, up in Texas, the Rangers lead the Blue Jays by 2. The finals, Milwaukee over Detroit 5-2. Kansas City defeats Boston and Roger Clemens 2-1. Chicago defeated Oakland 7-4. Cleveland all over New York. Baltimore falls at Minnesota. And very early out west, Jim Abbott, the young man born without a right hand, is making his major league debut as a pitcher for the California Angels. And at the present time, his Angels are trailing Seattle 2-0 in the 4th. But you can be sure that a lot of people are pulling for young Jim Abbott tonight. 5 years ago tonight, former Astro All-Star shortstop Dickie Thon suffered one of the scariest injuries in all of sports as he was hit in the head by a Mike Torres pitch. Thon's upper cheekbone was fractured and he suffered permanent damage to his left eye. Well, last night there was a similar incident that took place up at Arlington Stadium as Toronto's All-Star shortstop Tony Fernandez was beamed by Texas pitcher Cecilio Guante, and it was a scary scene as Guante hit Fernandez's flesh on the cheek and Fernandez went down. Fernandez was never unconscious, but he did lay motionless for nearly 10 minutes on the ground before he was carried off on a stretcher. Fernandez suffered a fractured bone in his cheek and he's been placed on the 21-day disabled list. Surgery will be required to repair the fracture. And you just have to hope that Fernandez will be able to come back after this incident quicker than former Astro Dickie Thon did from his. Again, Dickie was beamed 5 years ago today. And as if Cincinnati manager Pete Rose didn't have enough problems, now according to a report in the Cincinnati Post, Pete is being investigated by the Internal Revenue Service for tax evasion. The newspaper says that Rose became a target of the probe after federal agents infiltrated a major gambling and drug trafficking ring last year in the Cincinnati area. And in the tomorrow issue, the Sunday issue of the Cleveland Plain Dealer, bodybuilder Paul Jansen is now quoted as saying that he indeed did place bets for himself and for Rose on baseball games, including Cincinnati Reds games during the 1987 season. But Jansen, who is currently serving time in a halfway house for income tax evasion, hasn't been able to give investigators conclusive evidence that Rose himself made a bet. Of course, the baseball commissioner's office still says it'll be several weeks before any decision is handed down in Major League Baseball's investigation into those charges against Rose. Rose and his Reds, remember, will be in town to take on the Astros on Monday. Well, if you're a college baseball fan, I hope you've had a chance to get out and catch the local teams in action. And if you were over at Rice today, you had a chance to see the #1 rated college team in the nation, the Texas A&M Aggies, take on the Rice Owls. You know, with the season the Aggies are having, they probably expect every team they play to pull out all the stops in an effort to top #1. But as the Rice Owls found out today, even when you pull out your best against these Aggies, it's usually not nearly enough. Keith Calkins has the story.
Rice sophomore Rob Howard starts the day with a scoreless streak of 19 in the 3rd innings.
Through today's highlights from the Masters. Later on, we'll check final round action from the big All-America Intercollegiate Golf Tournament out at Bear Creek. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Your Texas Pontiac dealers and KHOU FM 100 invite you to test drive any new Pontiac and then get a free fun-filled night on the town, like an AMC movie, Astros baseball, your own limo from Brown's Limousine, laughs at the Comedy Workshop, a night at Magic Island, dinner at Boston Sea Party, Dave's, Los Tios Mexican restaurants, or a night at the Marriott. Plus, get up to $1,000 cash or 4.9% financing on Grand Prix. A night on the town, it's simple. Just see any one of your Texas Pontiac dealers today.
Open wide, wider.
When you need glasses fast. Haven't finished playing their 3rd round. The weather started out windy and wild on Thursday, and it's gotten progressively worse every day. Let's take a look and see what happened today. Gentle Ben Crenshaw was playing outstanding golf again today. Here he birdies on 7 to go 4 under just before an hour-and-a-half lightning delay. But this was a tough day for second-round co-leaders Lee Trevino and Nick Faldo. Trevino there bogeyed on 9. He's now 9 over. And Fowler also bogeyed on 9. He's currently at even par. The guy who was really hot today, Greg Norman, here he puts his tee shot on number 12 to within 4 feet of the pin. He fired a 68 today to go 1 over after 3 rounds. In fact, he's the only player on the leaderboard who's finished the 3rd round, because even though they resumed play late today after the long rain delay, finally the rain and darkness was just too much. They had to suspend play around 6 o'clock Houston time tonight. They'll finish the 3rd round in the morning before playing the 4th round tomorrow afternoon. And as we take a look at the leaderboard, I want to mention that the last time and the only time Crenshaw ever won the Masters was back in '84, when rain and darkness once again delayed the finish of the 3rd round. And 5 years ago, this weekend, Crenshaw began play on the 14th hole on Sunday. He finished the 3rd round and then turned around and played a great final round to win that tournament. And we'll find out if history will repeat itself tomorrow, because Crenshaw once again will begin play on the 14th hole tomorrow. Looking at the leaderboard, you can see Crenshaw is the only player under par at the present time. Scott Hoke, Mike Reed, Nick Faldo all tied at even par, 4 shots back. Then comes Greg Norman and Jumbo Ozaki. Again, we'll have final round coverage of the Masters here on Channel 11 tomorrow afternoon. Out at Bear Creek Golf Course today, the weather was a lot better than in Augusta for the final round of the All-America Intercollegiate. U of H golfer Keith Jones came up with a great shot here on the par 3 17 as he hits his tee shot to within 10 feet of the pin. And then he walks up and rolls in the putt for birdie, but he and his teammates only finished 6th overall in the 3-day event. Texas won the overall team title. Oklahoma State tied fans at 11:30 tomorrow morning as Dominique Wilkins and the Atlanta Hawks take on Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. Then, of course, we'll have the final round of the Masters for your viewing pleasure tomorrow afternoon. I'll see you again tomorrow night at 10. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
This week on Siskel and Ebert, Tom Berenger and Charlie Sheen try to snap a losing streak in Major League.
That ball wouldn't have been out of a lot of parks.
Name one.
Politically charged.
Yes.
It is now the noon hour, and here is the latest. The politically charged battle over abortion has reached a Supreme Court showdown. At issue is the landmark case which legalized abortions in 1973.
The First Lady of Comedy, Lucille Ball, is dead at the age of 77.
And police arrest protesters for allegedly disrupting a Union Carbide stockholders meeting. These stories and much more next on 11 News. Join us.
Do you suffer with our NUPE program? There's no out-of-pocket expense to you. Your qualifying insurance is accepted as payment in full. You pay no deductible and no co-payments. Call us today.
Call KHOU Network today at 271-BACK.
Don't touch that dial. KLOL Stevens and Pruitt are talking about Channel 11 News.
Stevens and Pruitt.
The Groove Dogs.
It takes a lot to get the Stevens and Pruitt show started each morning on 101 KLOL. Like music, like semi-automatic farm implements, like red Corvettes, like mascots, like Groove Dogs. Remember, he's Stevens. I'm Pruitt. No. You can't do that. You can't do it that way.
I'm Dr. Ray. The Cataract Institute has helped thousands see and enjoy life again. For cost-free cataract surgery, call us today, 644-1111.
KHOU TV, Houston. And now, from 11 News in Houston, Sylvan Rodriguez, Susan Banks, and Mario Gomez with weather. This is KHOU 11 News.
Opposing sides of the abortion issue have gathered outside the Supreme Court in Washington, where a Missouri case has become the focus of an emotional debate. Good afternoon. Abortion is the issue of the day today, inside and outside the Supreme Court. We'll have the latest on the abortion issue in a moment, but first, some sad news concerning Lucille Ball.
It's sad news indeed, Sylvan. Lucille Ball died this morning after suffering a sudden and massive heart attack at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles. We had all been pulling so hard for her, and it seemed she was doing so well after her heart attack and surgery 1 week ago. But this morning at before dawn, at age 77, the funny lady with the flaming red hair, the big blue eyes, and unmistakable laugh left us for good. Jerry Bowen looks back at her career.
Lucille Ball was long the preeminent comedienne of American film and television, co-starring with her late ex-husband Desi Arnaz in one of the most popular TV shows of all time, a comedy program still seen around the world in syndication. Lucy dropped out of high school at age 15 to study drama in New York City. She worked as a secretary, waitress, and model as she moved from brunette to blonde and ultimately to America's red-headed queen of comedy. She was a showgirl, a bit player in grade B movies before finding her niche in that new medium, television.
Yes, with Vitamina Benjamin, you can spoon your way to health. All you do is take a tablespoonful after every meal.
Now you take some.
Oh. It's so tasty, too.
The niche was the I Love Lucy show, which enabled Ball and Arnaz to parlay their Desilu productions into one of the world's largest TV properties, eventually giving them control of RKO Studios, where the two had been contract players.
Say, do you play that then? What then?
Never mind making fun of my English.
That's English.
Ball and Arnaz divorced in 1960, and Lucy married nightclub comedian Gary Morton a year later. She developed her own successful TV comedy show in the 60s and 70s and gained critical acclaim in 1985 for the television movie Stone Pillow, in which she played a bag lady.
Well, I'm still here.
Her last public appearance was last month at the Academy Awards ceremony with Bob Hope.
But I've got the most gorgeous girl right by my side, Lucille Ball, right there.
Simply call 777.
Lucille Ball, clown, comedienne, and redhead to the world. Jerry Bowen, CBS News, Hollywood.
And we'll all miss her. Inside the Supreme Court building in Washington today, the justices will hear arguments in the most closely watched abortion case in years. It concerns Missouri's abortion law. The Bush administration is asking the court to use this case to overturn the 1973 ruling that legalized abortion nationwide. Hundreds of demonstrators on both sides of the issue have gathered outside the Supreme Court, and emotions are running high. Some have been peacefully displaying banners, but others have gotten into shouting matches. Police have arrested some demonstrators. Rita Braver has more on the case that may change the country's abortion law.
The state of Missouri is asking the court to overturn Roe v. Wade, a landmark decision giving women almost unlimited right to abortion in the first trimester of pregnancy. Missouri also wants the court to uphold its new law, which says that life begins at conception, requires doctors to perform extensive tests before doing abortions, and prohibits public funding of abortions.
If the court demands that a person has a right or choice to have an abortion, that's fine, but don't force us to participate in it.
Pro-choice advocates say that if Roe v. Wade is overturned, life will be more dangerous for women. Norma McCorvey is the woman who used the pseudonym Jane Roe in the original case.
When we are going to get abortions, whether they are legal or not, so we would have women getting backstreet abortions again.
The Supreme Court argument today is expected to be intense. Hundreds of groups, including the Bush administration, have filed papers backing Missouri's contention that the state has a compelling interest in preserving the life of a viable unborn child. Hundreds of pro-choice supporters have filed papers joining a Missouri clinic that challenge the state law backing the contention that Roe v. Wade should be neither reconsidered nor overruled. The right to abortion is properly among the fundamental liberties. In fact, both sides in the case are now predicting that rather than overturning Roe v. Wade, the court is most likely to modify it in some way, perhaps giving states more leeway than they now have to put some limits on abortions. Rita Braver, CBS News, Washington.
And a CBS News New York Times poll shows deep division on the abortion issue across the land. More than 1,400 adults were asked under what circumstances abortion should be allowed under the law. 49% said it should be legal as it is now. 39% said it should be legal only to save the mother's life or in cases of incest. And 9% said abortion should not be permitted for any reason. The poll was conducted between April 13th and 16th and has a sampling error of plus or minus 3 points. Sylvan?
4 protesters have been arrested at Union Carbide shareholders meeting right here in Houston. Members of the group called Greenpeace Action attended the meeting to voice concerns that Union Carbide plants are part of a good deal, flocked to Frost Brothers for a final shopping spree before the store locks its doors for good.
The fears and facts about turning 40 in today's Fit and Female report, and Channel 11's movie critic looks at the newest film version of an old classic. Stay with us.
The doctors at the Barnes Eye Centers would like to announce our unique
Turning all around. Don't you love the sound of a price coming down?
USDA Choice Boneless Beef Round Steak Family Pack $1.49 a pound. Parquet Margarine 1 pound 38 cents. Limit 2 per person with $10 purchase or more. Delta Paper Towels 3 for $1. Limit 3 per person with $10.
So important today.
Well, it's a crucial question for the rights of women in this country, and I was in the court today. I was very honored to be there. It was an extremely interesting exchange, and it's really an historic day for women's rights.
Can you tell us, can you describe for us who were not in the courtroom exactly what happened today? What was said?
I felt that the opponents, the lawyer representing the anti-abortionists, were trying their best to diffuse an issue which we have constantly brought forward. That is that if the right to abortion can be taken away from us, so can the right to birth control. They were both decided under the same privacy interpretation of the Constitution. Obviously, they heard our message, and they did their best to say that the right to birth control had nothing to do with the right to abortion. We thought that they clearly were worried about that part of the argument, and we didn't feel they did that well.
Dr. Joseph Graham is with us. You may have heard he is with the Houston Right to Life organization. Dr. Graham, what does a hearing mean to you today?
Well, what it means is that this is the first time that the Supreme Court is hearing arguments that would place some restrictions on the practice of abortion in the United States, because currently, as a result of Roe v. Wade, Doe v. Bolton, abortion is legal in the United States through 9 months of pregnancy. Now, the Supreme Court, the Webster case deals with a Missouri statute which would declare that human life begins at conception, and it would
you to answer that question. What does the Constitution say about this?
Well, in that decision, they were very unclear as to what part of the Constitution or the Bill of Rights guaranteed a woman a right to abortion. They said it was under the penumbra of rights, if not any actual rights. Privacy was one of those rights referred to. But the reality is that in the declaration that human life begins at the moment of conception, all human life is protected by the Constitution. And what is being attacked here is not the rights of the mother, but rather the rights of the unborn child to life, which is the most basic right that every human being has, and is guaranteed the protection under the Constitution.
We are hearing from Molly Yard in the background, who is saying that that is not what the lawyer said.
The lawyer for the anti-abortionist said that that statement was only a philosophical statement and had no force of any kind. I found it hard to believe what he was saying, but that's what he said.
Well,
I'm sorry that we are out of time. This issue can go on all afternoon, I presume, but we want to thank both of you for joining us on our program.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Molly Yard. This debate's been going on for 16 years. I imagine it won't end just today. In other news this noon, the Coast Guard resumed searching this morning for the third victim of a boating accident in Galveston Bay. They focused the search along shoreline areas of Pelican Island, Bolivar Peninsula, and the Texas City Dike. The Coast Guard has not been found, and his is being withheld at this time. President Bush is making a quick stop in his home state this afternoon. The president is scheduled to address a joint session of the Texas legislature at 4:30 in Austin. The address is a formality in response to a resolution inviting the president to speak. The speech is expected to last about 20 minutes. The president, who is flying in from Los Angeles, will then head to Washington after a short 1-hour stop.
in Austin. Sylvan.
Let's take a look at business news. Stock prices are mixed at the noon hour in moderate.
A lot of talk about rain. Mario, when is it heading our way?
Well, we're still looking at the possibility of rain, Susan and Sylvan, around Thursday or Friday. Looks like Friday is a sure bet. And the one thing we do see is a lot of heat each and every day I've talked to you. It's gotten warmer, and today is no exception. We'll have the forecast coming up next.
Hello, my name is Henrietta Kurtz. I have 2 years' experience as a production control coordinator of raw data for computer entry. I have coordinated data for accounts payable, accounts receivable, general ledger, medical reports, and end-of-month reports. Give me a call, and thank you.
For more information about job search, contact the TEC Employer Service Office at 530-0900.
Be a part of Macy's for you too at our sale. Also look for big savings on electronics and housewares. It's all at Macy's Assistant Buyer's Day sale, starting tomorrow.
Macy's, now more than ever, we're a part of your life.
Coming at you from the Disney MGM Studios on the next Win, Lose, or Draw.
Do you know what this is? I thought it was Don't Choke Donald Duck.
As your favorite stars play TV's hottest game. Chuck Hay, Alan Alda, Lonnie Anderson, and Burt Reynolds.
That's what makes this game so fascinating.
They're going to light up the board in style. What's the lamp called? It's fast draw fun that's hard to top.
You do hold the all-time record on our show.
From the Disney MGM Studios on Win, Lose, or Draw.
Join Win, Lose, or Draw today at 3 on 11.
He will watch her. He will watch her.
Take a look.
Watch every day. You love to play. He will watch her. He will watch her. Just spin and win.
Check it out. The wheel is hotter than ever.
He will watch her. Yeah. He will watch her.
Join your friends and play along with America's favorite Wheel of Fortune.
Tonight at 6:30 on 11.
Thought I'd start off with the beach forecast just to get you in that beach-going kind of mood. 78 degrees in Galveston Island for an afternoon high. Actually, I think it's going to get closer to 80 today. Water temperature is getting warmer, and the winds are still out of the south-southeast, anywhere from 15 to 20 knots. Just a semi-chop out there on the area seas. Let's take a look at the current readings. This will get you in the beach-going mood. Pretty close to 79 right now in Galveston Island. 86 for our temperature right now downtown at our studios. It's getting warmer and warmer every day I talk to you. 85 Intercontinental, 83 down at Hobby. Now, the skies are partly cloudy. We do have plenty of sunshine. Humidity remains quite high, and the winds are also picking up out of the south at 16 miles an hour. High temperature yesterday all the way up there to 88. Our normal temperature should be about 7 degrees cooler at 81, and the morning low, of course, is 71. Here's our weekend weather right here. By Friday, I think around Friday and Saturday, this massive area of low pressure will start moving very slowly to the west. We may see a few disturbances creep in out of the east and out of the southern flow here, the subtropical jet, and that may cause a few thunderstorms to form. Not an all-out rainfall, but widely scattered showers will be the rule of the day as we get closer and closer to the weekend. This is the only weather system really of any significance. It's kind of divided the country in half. It is causing a few thunderstorms in the Carolinas and across the Pacific Northwest. Here's our forecast for Houston, though. No rain today, so put away your umbrellas at least for the meantime. Temperatures for the afternoon very warm, up to about 88, maybe even 89. We may be pushing 90 by the time the afternoon is over. Now, for the evening hours, it's fine. Now, here's our rain chances. I think they start creeping in tomorrow. Only a 20% chance. Then it goes up to maybe 30 or 40% around Friday and Saturday. I know it sounds like I'm kind of in between, but I do see some rain in our future. If not the kind that just kind of opens up and bursts out with a lot of rain, we are looking at least at some rain. So don't cancel your plans yet for the weekend. I think we may be able to make it out.
It's beginning to feel a lot like summer.
It sure is. Thank you,
everywhere.
Mark. Is there really a thing called midlife crisis? We hear a lot about it, especially when it comes to men turning 40.
So tale may leave you stranded. Channel 11 movie critic Gary Cogill has a review.
It's Foley's Red Apple this Wednesday only. Shop early, shop late. Spring into savings of 20 to 50% across the store. Save 25% on regular price Missy and petite suits. 25% off entire stock of regular price shorts for Missy, women's, petites, juniors, young men's, and men's. Save 30% on entire stock of dress shirts from Traditionalist, Via Europa, and Savile Row. Save an additional 20% on the entire stock of Fieldcrest solid color towels. And save 50% on the entire stock of 14 karat gold and sterling jewelry. It's the Red Apple sale Wednesday only at Foley's, of course.
Don't touch that dial. KLOL Stevens and Pruitt are talking about Channel 11 News.
Stevens and Pruitt.
The Groove Dogs.
It takes a lot to get the Stevens and Pruitt show started each morning on 101 KLOL. Like music, like semi-automatic farm implements, like red Corvettes, like mascots, like Groove Dogs. Remember, he's Stevens. I'm Pruitt. No. You can't do that. You can't do it that way.
Wanted, a few good men and women. Experience new thrills. Travel to new and exciting places. Meet interesting people. Learn from the masters and have the time of your life.
I'm so excited I can watch.
Get ready, because MASH wants you.
Tonight at 10:30, following 11 News.
Well, be sure to join Steve Smith and Marlene McClinton for 11 News at 5. We'll begin a special series of reports called Rock and Rolls. Our Claire Casademont will examine the roles played by Houston's top radio disc jockeys. Tonight we'll meet two of the wildest ones, Stevens and Pruitt of KLOL. You could consider these guys the bad boys of morning radio. You'll see what we mean in tonight's report coming up at 5.
Okay.
Well, back here in Houston, if you were anywhere near South Shepherd and San Felipe this morning, you could have had a hard time getting through all the traffic. A couple of thousand people jammed the Frost Brothers store to snap up bargains. The store has been taken over by creditors and is liquidating its entire stock. Even though most of the customers agreed the markdowns weren't all that great, they were willing to stand in line for long periods of time. Frost Brothers is a victim of the state's failing economy, despite efforts to scale down its operations by closing all but its one store in Houston and one in San Antonio. Frost Brothers has been unable to survive the Brothers Frost coming apart.
That's too bad. We hate to take advantage of their misfortune, but I might try to make
You're
that
going to be there
sale.
in just a few minutes.
Just very shortly. That's our
right.
news.
Thanks for being with us.